Okay, hello you crazy people out there, this is DragoniteSpam, and welcome back to Tower Defense Games in Game Maker. Let's see. In the last part, I made towers, different types of towers, so there's this like fire tower, fast shooting tower, that sort of thing. And in this part, I don't remember what I said I was going to do earlier, but I'm going to do the same thing for enemies. So first, let me make a group for different types of enemies. Let me actually, not enemy typos, very ironically, but enemy types. You're going to go in there in the controller. I'm going to move a few things around, a few lines of code around. Let's see. First, specific things that are like properties of enemies should be calculated within the enemy's like creation event, actually, instead of this spawn enemy script. So I'm going to go into the create event, and I'm going to cut and paste all of this over here. So this thing is actually automatically going to calculate the max HP is global variable of wave times 4 plus 8, and it's going to set its own max HP to its own active HP to the max HP rather, and it's going to start the path automatically. This bit here, this exact level 1 path thing, will be making things a bit tricky when it comes to making other levels, but I'm going to leave it alone for right now. The important thing is just that it automatically starts the path. And let's see if I'm going to get out of there. I don't need the spawn enemy script anymore because it isn't used anywhere else in the game except for this particular alarm event. And it's really just kind of sitting there taking up space. All I need is the instance create line over there, and I can get rid of this. Alright, so despawning the spawn enemy script. So let's see, get out of there. Control-Shift-F, by the way, the search box is very useful sometimes. What else was there that I wanted to do? The amount of money you get when an enemy dies. Oh, I actually had a failed recording of this, and by that I mean I thought I was recording, and I wasn't, and I was kind of just talking to thin air with OBS, like, not doing anything, and I kind of wasted a half hour of my time. So I have a better idea today of what I would like to do than I usually seem to. So, anyway, when the enemies die first, I'm going to go into bullet and collision with enemy, and this stuff here, this die maybe like HP is less than 0 question mark, that doesn't need to be there at all. I can go to the enemy and go into the step event. There is this exact same code here, except it's like indented a little bit less. And I don't need this at all, because this is just going to be a general check at the end of every step to see if this situation is right for it to die. Also, I want to change this to change event to end step, because I don't remember if collisions or the step event is processed first. And just to make sure, I'm going to make that the end step, so the collision is always processed before this check for death. Another thing, and I mentioned this a minute ago, but the amount of money that you get for killing an enemy is calculated by this one exact expression, max HP over 4, and that should be a property of the enemy also. And by that, reward is going to be a variable in here, and in this case, it's going to be the same expression as it used to be, just declared in a different place. I realized this a little while ago, but it's possible that this could give you a decimal amount of reward money, and since I don't want that to happen, I'm going to round it down so that it's always going to be an integer. Let's see, that is all I need, at least over here. Bullet, enemy. I don't have to change anything for fire bullets collision, do I? No, that's just that just says the same thing. It deducts health and sets it on fire, so I can get out of there. Anyway, when it comes to different types of enemies, I'm going to implement them much the same as I implemented different types of towers. So there's going to be a second array here. There's going to be the wave count and the wave type, and there should be a comment in there. I'm surprised it didn't throw a compile error when I tried to run that without a comma between variable names, but I guess you don't need them actually. I'm pretty sure it'll complain if you get rid of the semicolon. Yeah, it doesn't like that. So wave type is going to be an array of variables, rather, a lot like this. Just instead of being named wave count, it's going to be named type. And instead of holding the number of enemies that will spawn in every wave, it's just going to hold the name of the particular enemy, the object index of the particular enemy that it's going to spawn. And to make that work, instead of in this alarm event when it creates an enemy, instead of this, I'm going to create whatever type of object is held in this this wave type array variable. Whatever. My throat is getting kind of sore and it's kind of annoying. Anyway, again, a lot like the towers did. So as for different types of enemies, I'm going to duplicate that. This is going to be enemy. I'll make like fast and slow ones. Let's see, fast does not have an L in it. Again, a lot like I did with the towers. And I think I'll also make one that's immune to being on fire and one that is like a boss enemy. Because that sounds fun. Let's see, you need to inherit from the regular enemy. Why is that maximized? No, I do not want that to be such a big window because that makes it hard to see everything else. This is a fast enemy, so let's make it go along the path at a speed of 6 instead of 4. But in turn, it's going to have less HP. How about 10 plus 2 times wave? Yeah, okay, so, well, no. Yeah, no. Making up my mind is hard, leave me alone. So, alright, it'll have the same 8 overhead as the other enemies did, but just the amount of HP that they get every level will go up slower. More slowly. The reward calculation should be the same. Everything else should be the same. Why is this like twice? I do not want this twice. Is that in the other enemy create event also? Okay, so this also has redundant code, which I don't want. Go away. So that's that wouldn't screw up the game or anything. It would just kind of take like 2 steps of extra processing every step of the game, which isn't really necessary. Let's see, this is inherited, so I can just delete that. This is inherited. That's inherited also. The only thing that changes that needs code is this. Alright. Once again, I'm going to duplicate that. Make enemies slow. And again, the trade-off will be more HP for a slower movement speed. 10 plus 4 times wave. No, that's not too different from what the regular enemies had. 10 plus 6 times wave. Yeah. And they'll move along the path at the speed of 2. So, all pretty standard. If I were to go, wave 1 is enemy fast and wave 2 is enemy slow, that would cause the game to spawn different types of enemies every wave, so I'll run the game just to make sure it works. It should work. I don't do anything overly complicated, but just want to make sure. I'm going to set up a couple of these, like around here. And there are just bullets flying all over the place. God love tower defense games. So these guys are moving faster than the other ones were. They're getting farther up the track. That is actually not good. Go away. And I'm letting things through, and I'm probably going to game over. Because, no. Oh, come on, I don't have enough money to... Oh, that's too bad. I lost my own game. Alright, you know what, I'm going to set up a fire tower up here, because that would be advantageous to have at the beginning of the path. But like I said before, these guys are coming through faster. At the end of this wave, there's 5 more, 4, 3, 2, and 1. This next wave should start coming through a little bit more slowly. There we go. Yeah, those guys aren't moving very fast at all, but they do have a lot of HP. Although, I must say, the fire tower is kind of broken. So I should probably put, like, a timer on, like, the fire effect so that it doesn't last too long. Maybe, like, only 2 seconds or something like that, but never mind. That works. It's not very balanced, but it works. I'll worry about balancing things later. Enemy immune to fire, I also mentioned. So, let's duplicate this. Let's make that inherit from regular enemy again. enemy immune to fire. And, well, I won't make them immune to the actual fire bullets, although that is an option. But I'll just make them immune to the burning effect. This I don't need. Actually, yeah, I'll make them give a little bit more reward money when you beat them, because they are different from the regular enemies, slightly upgraded. On fire, all I need is to get rid of that. So, the code for burning them at the end of every step has been removed, and everything else stays the same. So, let's see, let's go into here, and the third wave, whatever you want to call it, if you want to start counting from 0. Let's make that 15 enemies also, and the wave type of the next wave is going to be enemy immune to fire. So I'm not going to test this quite yet. I did say also I want to have a boss enemy and a boss. Very typical. This is going to be an exaggerated version of typical of bosses in tower defense games. Don't move as fast. Have a lot more HP. So let's say like 20 plus 10 times the wave number. And that should be sufficiently difficult. And reward is going to be... let's have them give more money for reward too, because they are harder. Obviously, they'll give more money as a reward than the regular enemies, because they have more HP, but even so, let's see. Draw event I don't need, and end of path. I think I want these guys to remove more health than regular enemies would. Everyone else removes 1 health, at least so far, when they get to the end. If they get to the end, I'm going to have the bosses remove like 2 or 3 or so. So that said, this remove lives function is going to see activity in some other places in the game probably. So instead of removing exactly 1 every time it's called, I'm going to pass the amount that you lose as a parameter. Something like that. And bosses, let's remove 3, and regular enemies, let's just remove 1. And I don't need to change anybody else's events because they're all inherited. Let's see, let's close out of there, close out of there, out of there. I have a lot of windows open over here. Anyway, wave count of 4 is going to be, let's make 2 boss enemies. And there. So if I run the game, we're going to get regular, fast, slow, fire immunity, and then bosses. And let's see how this works. Let's make some regular towers. I have enough to set up a fire at the beginning of the track, which is good because I kind of want to break this. Well, not literally break it, but make sure I get to the end without too much trouble. I'm going to cut away to near the end because I don't really feel like having to sit through all this again. Alright, so this is wave 3 or 4, depending on how you look at it. These guys were immune to fire, and they're indeed not burning. And I should probably make sure that they don't get through to the end, because that would be bad. And, wow, I have more currency, money, whatever, than I know what to do with here, so I should probably think about balancing that, too. I should just write up, like, a text file of everybody. These, okay, I forgot to make enemy boss inherit. I thought I did that, but I guess not. Inherit from enemy, and they're not being treated as such. Okay. Let me try that again. I'm gonna have to sit through this for another, like, 10 minutes. Okay, those guys are almost getting through, and I'm kind of nervous here. I know I shouldn't be, but... Wow, alright, so I was not given much margin of error there by myself. Anyway, the bosses were probably honestly not strong enough because the immune to fire guys. This fire tower is just so overpowered. Yeah, all that works. Balance is another question, which I'm not going to address right now because that's really its own other whole video or 3. Let's see, what else was there that I wanted to do? Oh, aesthetically, there are a few things that I noticed. In the towers, let's see, in the draw event, it's ranged. With the fire towers, if the last thing that was, like, drawn, or with I think all of the towers, if the last thing that was drawn is colored red, or colored anything that isn't black, the circle will appear some other color as well. So when the enemies that were on fire were appearing, since their text was red and that was the last thing that was getting drawn before the um, circle outline, the circle was getting set to red also. And I should probably check for the GUI also. Draw set color. This may or may not be actually necessary. Oh, I see. It isn't necessary because I already have it down here. But in general, whenever you draw stuff, it's always a good idea to set the color and alignment and all of that, even if you don't know if you need to, because depending on the order of events that things like individually get carried out within GameMaker, it might be important. Don't go overboard, obviously, because that will slow the game down if you do it often enough, but in any case, what else did I want to do? Oh, enemy health bars. The text, I'm starting to think, especially when it's like scrolling down on fire, it looks kind of weird, the enemy's health just being displayed in text. So I think I'm going to change that to an actual health bar. I'm going to get rid of all of this and draw health bar. There are better ways of drawing a health bar than to use the built-in draw health bar script, but I'm going to use this here just because I can. These are the boundaries of a rectangle. That'll be 32 by 4 pixels rectangle. I think that should be good. Although I guess I can make it 32 by 8 just to be a little bit clearer. Anyway, amount. You can leave that blank for now. Back color. Doesn't matter because I'm not going to draw it. Color minimum, color maximum. Direction 0 is to be rooted at the left side, so it scrolls from right to left as it empties. It's kind of strange. That's another reason it's sometimes best to not use the built-in draw health bar function, because it's kind of arbitrary, not like in degrees or radians or anything. Show back, false, and show border, false. So the amount, this variable f here is going to be just the fraction of HP that you have, and I'm going to use that for a few different things. First, the amount is going to be, since for whatever reason this has to be a number between 0 and 100 as in like percent or something, and not a decimal between 0 and 1 or something like that. 100 times f, because f will always be between 0 and 1, will do the trick. And the color, I'm thinking something like in Pokemon or something where like half to full HP is green, quarter to half is yellow, and anything below a quarter is red. So let's see, if f is greater than 0.5, else if greater than a quarter, and else. Alright, that'll do it. Also, I want to draw an outline around the health bar, just to make it stand out a little bit better, so going to borrow those coordinates. Outline only, so that last true false value will be true. And the color is black, so this is just going to be a black outline around where the health bar would be. Now this does get rid of the, what was it, draw red text if you're on fire sort of thing I had earlier. And I can put something else in here eventually. Have not decided what, whether that's like a flame particle effect. I'll get into particles later, or like a sprite over the enemy sprite to make it look like you're on fire or anything. Another thing I mentioned is the fire should like expire after a certain amount of time, because burning an enemy at the beginning and just leaving them there is really kind of overpowered. So let's see. Do I want to do that now? First I'm going to test the health bars. It shouldn't take me long to implement a timer on the fire effect, but first I want to make sure the health bars are okay. With like, there. Okay, that is actually not alright. What is going on? Oh. Okay. The bounds of the rectangle are a little bit off. There we go. So it was essentially a 0 by 8 rectangle instead of 32 by 8, which is slightly different from what I had in mind. Alright, that's a lot better. And you can see the scrolling down. Well, it's not scrolling, it's like lopping off bits of HP instantaneously, but it's scrolling a rectangle instead of numbers, which does look better, I think. Let's see, what else was there? The fire effect that I was just talking about. So, enemy on fire is false. I could also say, I could change on fire to like fire strength or something and make that 0 and give it another variable. Fire duration is 0, and let's see, what other enemies have create events, because I will need to unfortunately reflect this change across all enemies with create events. Immune to fire. This enemy doesn't actually use either of these, but I'm just going to put it there as a matter of habit. Let's see. Fast needs that, and slow is going to need this as well. So that's all the enemies. Perfect. And how many times again do I say that I don't like copying and pasting code? Anyway, next I'm going to find out which enemies have step events. Yes. I think it's just this one. So on fire. Actually, wait, even better. HP minus equals fire strength, and instead of the, what was it, fire duration variable, so I'm going to go through and get rid of all those. Alright, so I've gotten all those variables. When the bullet of fire collides with an enemy, instead of saying on fire is true, fire strength is going to be set to 0.1, because that's the amount of HP that they're supposed to lose in every step. And I'm going to use an alarm here. Alarm 0 equals, how about having them on fire for 2 seconds, so room speed times 2. And then simply going over to the enemy, and in alarm 0, when this goes off, fire strength equals 0. And to put them out, they're just going to deduct exactly 0 HP in every step. So I guess you could look at it as they're still on fire, they're just not taking any damage from it, maybe? Yeah, that sounds weird when you think about it, but it should work. It's going to work. If it doesn't work, I need to seriously rethink what I'm doing here with the computer. That does give a little more flexibility over what to do with the fire, so you can make fire do more damage or last longer or something like that. Anyway, that actually took longer than I expected it to, but let me run the game, and I'm going to stick a tower of fire by the beginning. I should probably stick a regular tower down there. Oh, come on! Did I really, like, not change a variable name? Where is it? Oh, enemy draw. Okay. So I forgot to, Alright, that's one change that I forgot to reflect. Let's close out of that search window and try that again. Without crashing, please. That would be nice. Okay, and they're coming through and they're dying too quickly to see if the fire expires or not. Okay, so you can see that these guys stop burning after a certain amount of time. That's great. Let's see. I don't really need to sit here and watch the rest of it unless you want to sit here and watch the rest of it, which I don't think you do. Was there anything else I wanted to do? I addressed the, like the draw color, I addressed the health bars, I addressed the fire being overpowered, kind of. Bosses have been implemented. I don't think there's anything else I wanted to do in this video here, so in the next part, I should probably finish up the overlay on the side of the screen with, like, the wave number and all of that on it, because I wanted to draw some tower stats on it and never really got around to doing that. If there's anything else that I think of, I'll write up a kind of to-do list, and make sure to look back over at that whenever the next time I pick up this project is. Again, if you have any ideas for this yourself, let me know in the comments, and I'll probably get around to it soonish. Other than that, as always, if you want to download this project file, look in the description of this video. Rate, comment, and subscribe. Watch some of the stuff I have uploaded, and I will see you all later.